Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned Albino lists 20 stand-up comedy specials that have made an impact on my life in some way or another, either by influencing me or by changing my mind about something or just exposing me to a new way of thinking or just by me loving them immensely. I can't show clips because copyright, but I'll tell you where you can see everything for yourself and how it's affected yours truly. There is no order to this list and I'm limiting it to one slot per comedian. Pete Holmes, Faces and Sounds. I thought I'd just start with my favorite comedy special of all time. Pete Holmes is joy personified. You can't watch him without grinning from ear to ear at just how much fun he's having with himself. If there is negativity in your heart, he will melt it away. Aside from the Jeselnik offensive, the Pete Holmes Show is the only late night talk show I ever committed to watching every episode of. He often talks about filling your joy quota, and I know I use him to fill mine when I need it. Pete Holmes' Faces and Sounds is available on HBO. Mark Normand, Don't Be Yourself. Mark Normand gives anxiety and social discomfort a voice, and Don't Be Yourself is the most relatable special I've ever seen. He does jokes about political correctness, racism, sexism, and in a way that's tough for the opposition to criticize. His special is presented by Amy Schumer, as he's one of her favorite comics, and I think I totally get why. Because Mark does the kind of racial and offensive humor that Amy used to do before she got monumentally gigantic, and now she lives vicariously through him because she'd get in trouble if she tried to bring it back. Which sucks, because that's when she was at her funniest. Regardless, everything Mark Normand says hits hard in a why didn't I think of that kind of way. Mark Normand, Don't Be Yourself is on Comedy Central. Bo Burnham, What? What marks the first time I ever cried at a comedy special? The end is just beautiful, and that's when I became enthralled by Bo Burnham. Previously, I was just like, yeah, he's pretty cool. But when you see What and later Make Happy, it brings a new vision to your eyesight, like you're putting on performance-colored glasses and seeing through the facade of entertainment in general. The theatrics in music heighten the emotion in a way that's just not possible otherwise, and his songs are what made me realize my comedy songs could exist. Bo Burnham, What is on Netflix. Donald Glover, Weirdo. This special made me realize that, hey, I can enjoy black comics too. I wish he'd do another one. Weirdo came out in 2011 and I've missed him since, though he's probably busy being childish Gambino. He's got terrific physicality on stage and it's just fun to watch. Donald Glover, Weirdo is on Netflix. Louis C.K. Chewed Up. Yeah, current events, whatever, but Louis C.K.'s bit about hating deer in this 2008 special is the funniest thing he's ever done in my mind, and he really solidified my relationship with comedy. The fact that I have so much material about children is derived from him basically confirming that it's okay to shit on them and be frustrated by them, and that helped open the floodgates of my own perspective. Louis C.K. Chewed Up is available probably nowhere now, but you can check iTunes and at this point probably find it posted on YouTube by people helping to keep it alive. Anthony Jeselnik, Thoughts and Prayers. Sometimes you can just go on stage and tell jokes. Supremely and exclusively dark jokes, but jokes. It doesn't have to be deep woven storytelling from childhood memories and relatable struggles. Sometimes it can just be set up punchline with laughter in a consistent place each time. I think telling jokes is braver than stories, because with flat out jokes, there's a place to laugh and everyone knows where it is, so if people don't, it's obvious and oppressing. With stories, you just tell a story and the laughter is peppered in wherever people feel like it. You can't really tell if a joke in it fell flat because they quickly dodge it and move on with the story. And Anthony Jeselnik jokes about horrible things and nothing but. Anthony Jeselnik, Thoughts and Prayers is on Netflix. Sarah Silverman, A Speck of Dust. Frankly, I've never seen such deliberately relaxed pacing. Sarah Silverman knows what the fuck she's doing and you can tell immediately. It's not stadium or theater comedy. A Speck of Dust is a small, intimate setting in a room she has total control over. A fire could start in the corner and nobody would get up as long as Sarah Silverman is still up there pulling you in. Sarah Silverman, A Speck of Dust is on Netflix. Judah Friedlander, America is the Greatest Country in the United States. Judah Friedlander plays a quietly satirized version of a very patriotic American. It's not over the top, it's a somber deconstruction of our America is number one mentality while throwing every other country under the bus in ways people who truly think that way would appreciate regardless. This special also reinforced the notion for me to just take chances on people you don't know anything about. I'd never seen Judah Friedlander before. I saw this special on Netflix and just said, fuck it, I'll watch it, and I enjoyed it greatly. Judah Friedlander, America is the Greatest Country in the United States, is on Netflix, as aforementioned. Bill Burr, Walk Your Way Out. Bill Burr was always someone who I enjoyed seeing as guests on talk shows, but watching his specials by myself never really clicked for me. Then I watched Walk Your Way Out again later, but this time with my dad, and I learned that it really makes a difference who you watch what comedy with, because he really liked it, and therefore by proximity, I enjoyed it much more than I previously did. Seeing and hearing what someone you know laughs at gives you so much insight as to who they are. I knew my dad twice as well as I did before we saw that. Bill Burr is a ranter who doesn't take shit and has anger issues, but is cool about it. Bill Burr, Walk Your Way Out is on Netflix. Matthew Broussard, Pedantic. This is the first and only album on this list, and while seeing and hearing comedy always beats just hearing it, Matthew Broussard's album is a treat for your ears and brain because he tells smart fucking jokes. Jokes that are corny but insanely clever at the same time. Jokes my brain appreciates. Medical jokes, science jokes, math jokes, comedy that appeals to your intelligence. Matthew Broussard, Pedantic is available on iTunes. Jeff Dunham, Spark of Insanity. Say what you will about him now, but Jeff Dunham used to be comedically on top of the world. Spark of Insanity is his second and best special, and while everything after that has gone downhill since then, that was the first comedy special I ever saw as a 13-year-old, long before I was funny, let alone even thinking of becoming a comedian. I watched it with my whole family and didn't stop laughing. If you've never seen ventriloquism before, it doesn't get funnier than Jeff Dunham in his prime. Jeff Dunham, Spark of Insanity is on Netflix and probably a bunch of other places. Jim Gaffigan, King Baby. If Bill Burr is who I watched with my dad, Jim Gaffigan is who I watched with my mom. She's a comedy neat freak, so she likes clean humor, which is a phrase that disgusts me, but Jim Gaffigan is top of the line. It's a toss-up between King Baby and Mr. Universe being his best special, but King Baby even had my grandmother laughing hysterically, and she didn't even understand jokes. Jim Gaffigan, King Baby is on Netflix. Hasan Minhaj, Homecoming King. This special tells tales of immigrant struggles with racism and assimilation like I've never known. I'd call it a must-watch for anyone who still allows themselves to be governed by their fear of the unknown when it comes to interaction with and opinions of other cultures. The storytelling goes deep and hits raw places, and you'll come out of it with more respect and knowledge than you had going in. Hasan Minhaj, Homecoming King, is on Netflix. Nikki Glazer, Perfect. Alright, we've hit our 2-woman quota for the list. Nikki Glazer so far is still the only comedian I've ever seen live, and I got a drunk picture with her afterwards. I don't remember a single thing she said specifically, but I remember my reaction to every joke she told was to laugh my ass off. Perfect is a well-categorized special. It's first half general topics, and then last half all sex stuff, and it's all funny and good. You might be like, oh good, another female comic talking about sex, but Nikki Glazer is objectively funny, and also male comics factually percentage-wise talk about sex way more, so hashtag deal with it, hashtag get over it, hashtag whatever. Nikki Glazer, Perfect is on Comedy Central. Jim Norton, Mouthful of Shame. This special impressed me because I've seen his previous ones, but this one blows them out of the park. With a stance on being attracted to transgender people I've never heard in comedy, and his unwashably filthy mind otherwise, there's plenty of reasons to watch him. Jim Norton, Mouthful of Shame is on Netflix. John Mulaney, The Comeback Kid. I have always loved John Mulaney. His style is professional, dapper, and like Allstate, you know you're in good hands. I like New in Town and The Comeback Kid equally, but his storytelling is more on display in the second one. His tone is riveting. Even when you're not laughing, you're interested and invested. John Mulaney, The Comeback Kid is on Netflix. Chris D'Elia, Man on Fire. I went back and forth on whether I like Chris D'Elia for a long time, but Man on Fire is his best special by a clear mile, and for me is undeniably great. He has a silly sort of humor that I used to be like, I'm above that, but now it just gets me in the right place. I don't think anyone is more consistently on point with their physicality adding to their jokes. In fact, it usually makes them entirely, like just weird faces or body movements that enhance everything incredibly. Man on Fire has a clear message that life isn't your movie, which I disagree with, but I still really enjoyed everything about it. Chris D'Elia, Man on Fire is on Netflix. Dave Attell, Roadwork. I think it's really important to remember that the sold-out theaters and packed stadiums are just the glitzy 1% of comedy. The real grind and work and majority of your career will be spent in clubs, bars, small venues, intimate settings, dealing up close and personal with the crowds. Dave Attell is a master of those situations, and that's what Roadwork shows off. He talks about whatever he wants and knows how to react to a reaction from the crowd, whether it's a heckle or someone not laughing or being obnoxious or anything. Dave Attell can seamlessly turn it into part of the show. Dave Attell, Roadwork is on Netflix. Patton Oswalt, Annihilation. If I'm going to mention so many storytellers, Patton Oswalt has to have a place somewhere. Annihilation takes place less than a year after his wife's death, and he shares some insight on what it's been like, but that doesn't stop him from still bringing the laughs in every other aspect too, including one 10-minute crowdwork improv bit that should be nominated for an Emmy of its own. Patton Oswalt Annihilation is on Netflix. Daniel Tosh, Completely Serious. You can thank this special for my decision to become a comedian. I became obsessed with comedy after I watched Completely Serious. I could recite it from memory. I worked on myself for years until I was actually funny, because I was absolutely not beforehand, just loud and obnoxious. Daniel Tosh is my biggest influence. He got me into the game, and he's what made me commit to saying whatever I want. I didn't know you could do that before I watched him. And so slowly but surely I became that guy who can say whatever he wants, and people started to accept it. And here we are. Daniel Tosh, Completely Serious is on Comedy Central. I think it was on Netflix, but not anymore. I don't know where else you could find it. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it leads you to some comedy you haven't heard before and enjoy as a result. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.